Good morning and welcome to the Implicit Bias Training. I am Mr. Cully, or Counselor Cully, but I am also your racial equity influencer for 2023 at H.S. Thompson STEAM Academy. So today we're going to be talking about implicit bias. We will also be going through our agenda, talking about our community agreements, the session objectives, implicit bias itself, do an equity check, a video and activity, ways to reduce implicit bias, scenarios, self-reflection, and feedback survey at the end. So the session objectives are as follows. Define and identify implicit biases, understand how implicit biases affect others, discuss ways to reduce implicit biases. So we've heard implicit bias maybe about 30 times since I started this video. What is implicit bias? Number one, implicit biases are attitudes or stereotypes that affect our activity, decisions, and comprehensions. Implicit biases can be positive, preference for something or someone, or negative, an aversion to or fear of something or someone. Implicit biases are different from known biases that people may choose to conceal for social or political reasons. In fact, implicit biases often conflict with a person's explicit and or declared beliefs. Implicit biases are formed over a lifetime as a result of exposure to direct or indirect messages. The media plays a large role in this formation process. Implicit biases are pervasive. Everyone has them, even you, even me. Implicit biases are changeable, however, but research shows that this process takes time, intention, and training. So let's do a quick equity check real quick here. So, which student would you most likely stop in the hallway? If there was a student walking through the hallway, which one do you think you would stop? Me personally, I think I would choose number two, simply, and here's my why. It's simply because I don't normally see kids that look like that in my school. And that boy got razor blades on his neck and black lipstick on. I've seen this movie before. So there's my implicit bias. But let's get a better understanding of that. And Mr. Vaughn Jones does a good um, rundown or explains what implicit bias is.
This week, more than 8,000 Starbucks stores actually closed up shop so that employees could take racial bias training after two black men were arrested in a Philadelphia store for actually no good reason at all. And that was one of several incidents of bias that have been caught on tape just recently. At Yale, my alma mater, a white graduate student called the cops to report a black woman napping in a dorm common area. Turns out the black woman was also a student who had fallen asleep after a long night of studying. In Rialto, California, a woman called the police on a group of three black friends who were checking out of their Airbnb. The woman told the cops she thought the group was suspicious because they didn't wave at her. So then in Oakland, a woman called police on a black family because they were barbecuing in the park and we're using the wrong grill. So, look, there is no question this is a troubling trend, but sadly, these types of interactions are not new. We just live in a day and age where everybody's got a camera phone and they can record this type of stuff. So, does that mean, though, that all these white people calling the cops on minorities are a bunch of intentionally hateful bigots? Well, maybe some of them are, but most likely, not all of them. I think something else is at play here. Implicit bias. What is implicit bias? I studied it. Take a look. If I say you have implicit bias, please don't take offense. Because everybody has implicit bias. We're talking subconscious perceptions of the world around you. If I say peanut butter, you don't think ketchup. Ew. Nope, you automatically think jelly. Yay. And the same with salt and pepper, green eggs and ham.
Do you like green eggs and ham?
All of these associations are shaped by everything from your upbringing and experiences to images in the media. Watching TV and film characters based on racial and ethnic stereotypes helps shape our instant associations about people. And those unconscious judgments that start off early and build up over time can have real consequences on everything from your success in getting a job, your interactions with the police, your ability to find housing. Now, let's talk about two professions that everybody agrees are full of well-intentioned people, doctors and teachers. Studies find that doctors are about half as likely to prescribe pain medication to black patients versus white patients with the same reported level of pain. Studies show unconscious stereotypes may be causing doctors to just underestimate the level of pain felt by their black patients. Now, black students are 3 times more likely to be suspended or expelled than their white peers. Consider this. Yale researchers asked teachers to watch videos of kids in a classroom and identify any problematic behavior. Each video featured a black girl and boy and a white girl and boy. The catch? There was no bad behavior in any video. And yet, 42% of teachers identified the black boy as the child who was the most challenging. Researchers found that teachers' eye movements actually followed the black boys in the video the most closely. Another study finds that having a stereotypically black-sounding name makes people imagine someone bigger and more violent. So, that's the bad news. And look, to be sure, there are some people who are still just flat-out old-fashioned racist. You know, they don't like people of color, and they want to exclude us or cause us harm. But even if you don't fall into that category, please don't be so quick to exonerate yourself. Because it turns out that racial bias functions kind of like malware, like a computer virus in our brain that kind of causes a subtle glitch whenever the input is a dark-skinned face. So you may not be racist, but your brain probably is. And the first step is admitting that all of us may have picked up a bad virus or two along the way. We can do something about that. Look, I'm Van Jones. It's the Van Jones Show. Thank you for watching. Peace and love for one another.
Now, that was quite a video, and it really does explain a lot about what we see as far as implicit bias. So, what are some of your takeaways from the video? What caused an aha moment? And what will you do to change based on the research you just learned? So I'm going to have some of these questions in your Google form, the same form that you got this video from. So if you would please just be honest and truthful and drop those answers into there just to kind of help me out and to help you out as well, because self-discovery is a big part of learning to change these types of behaviors. So, ways to reduce implicit bias. First one is focus on seeing people as individuals and notice assumptions and stereotypes. So instead of seeing people as a group, look at them as an individual and then notice what you think about them just based on what you see or what you hear. Next, take the implicit association test and or colorblind racial attitude scale. Now, the term colorblind is a um, it's very well used by a lot of different races. But being colorblind isn't actually the best way to be. Being colorblind helps you to exclude, and it also helps you to create these implicit biases. If you recognize people's color, then you can recognize their uniqueness, and you can recognize their uniqueness individually. So understanding that people look different, people come from different cultures, people come from different races and backgrounds, and even subcultures helps you to be able to understand that individual better. So rather than being colorblind, be color aware. Next, notice what triggers assumptions and work on consciously changing your stereotypes. Increase exposure to people who encounter stereotypes. Don't just hang around with people that look like you, hang around with everybody so that you can know what the difference is. Engage in education about implicit bias. This is a great way to start this little video. Next, become cognizant of cues others offer about themselves and context of the situation. Because sometimes people will act a certain way just based on the situation, and it's not their normal way of behaving. Try to see things from others' point of view and evaluate how you would react in similar situations. Making a judgment until you have additional information and you have reflected on personal assumptions and stereotypes. And this one is a very big one. Engage in deliberate self awareness processing. Take a second to look at yourself in the mirror because sometimes your assumptions only make things worse. Figure out where those assumptions come from, figure out where that trigger started. Review media avenues focusing on alleviating prejudice. So take your time to study, take your time to learn better ways so that you can reduce the implicit biases that you have on your own. Now, we're just going to take a moment for a little bit of self reflection. These questions will also be on your Google form. Why is it important to you to explore your own implicit bias? And how might exploring your own implicit bias help you personally? All right. So your feedback is going to be asked at the end of this on your Google form. Please give me some honest feedback on how we did here. And if you have any questions or anything like that, if you do have any questions or you want to learn more about implicit biases or even just more about racial equality, you can contact me at my email, kcully@dallasisd.org, or you can contact one of these wonderful individuals in our racial equity office. Candace, Jacinto, Tommy, and Nick are always happy to help and provide resources that would help you and your students as well. So we want to take the time to say thank you from the Racial Equity Office and H.S. Thompson's Racial Equity Influencer, Mr. Cully. Have a good day.